Hi, everybody. This is Miss Karen from the North Riverside Public Library. I am here again today for you. I have a fun book to read to you. This is a book that I had when I was a little girl, and I dug it out of my memory box while we were in quarantine, and I'd like to share it with you. I believe my kids have read it too as well, and you can see it's a little bit aged a little bit. So the name of the book is Curious George by H.A. Rye. This is the original Curious George book that I received. And you can see that it's a little tattered here. It's been taped a few times and the insides are a little yellow, but this is one of my favorite books when I was a little girl too. So, all right, here we go. Curious George. This is George. He lived in Africa. He was very happy, but he had one fault. He was too curious. One day, George saw a man. He had a large yellow straw hat. The man saw George too. What a nice little monkey, he thought. I would like to take him home with me. The man had his hat on the ground, and of course George was curious. He came down from the tree and took a look at the yellow hat. The hat had been on the man's head. George thought it would be nice to have it on his own head. He picked it up and put it on. The hat covered George's head. He couldn't see. The man picked him up quickly and popped him into a bag. George was caught. The man with the big yellow hat put George into a little boat, and a sailor rowed them both across the water to a big ship. George was sad, but he was still a little curious. On the big ship, things began to happen. The man took off the bag. George sat on a little stool, and the man said, George, I am going to take you to the big zoo in a big city. You will like it there. Now run along and play, but don't get into any trouble. George promised to be good, but it is easy for little monkeys to forget that. On the deck he found some seagulls. He wondered how they could fly. He was very curious. Finally, he had to try it. It looked very easy, but oh, what happened? First this, and then this. Where is George? The sailors looked and looked. As the last they saw him struggling in the water and almost all tired out. Oh my goodness. Man overboard, the sailors cried as they threw him a life belt. Well, George caught it and held on. At last, he was safe on board. After that, George was more careful to be a very good monkey until at last the long trip was over. George said goodbye to the kind sailors, and he and the man with the yellow hat walked off the ship onto the shore and on into the city of the man's house. After a good meal and a good pipe, George felt very tired. Monkeys don't smoke pipes. He crawled into bed and fell asleep at once. The next morning, the man telephoned the zoo. George watched him. He was fascinated. Then the man went away. George was curious. He wanted to telephone too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, what fun! Ding-a-ling-a-ling! George had telephoned the fire station. The firemen rushed to the phone. Hello, hello, they said. But there was no answer. Then they looked for the signal on the big map that showed where the telephone call was coming from. They didn't know it was George. They thought it was a real fire. Hurry! 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 The firemen jumped onto the fire engines and onto the hook and ladders. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Everyone out of the way. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The firemen rushed into the house. They opened the door. No fire. Only a naughty little monkey. Oh, catch him, they cried. George tried to run away. He almost did, but he got caught in the telephone wire. And a thin fireman caught one arm, and a fat fireman caught the other. You fool the fire department, they said. You will have to shut we will have to shut you up where you can't do any more harm. Well, they took him away and shut him in a prison. George wanted to get out. He climbed up to the window to try the bars. Just then the watchman came in. He got on the wooden bed and to catch George. But the watchman was just too big and heavy. The bed tipped up. The watchman fell over, and quick as lightning, George ran out through the open door. He hurried through the building and out on the roof, and then he was lucky to be a monkey. Out he walked onto the telephone wires, quickly and quietly over the guard's head. George walked away. He was free. Dawn is, oh, I'm sorry. Down on the street outside the prison wall stood a balloon man. A little girl bought a balloon for her brother. George watched. He was curious again. He felt he must have a bright red balloon. He reached over and tried to help himself, but Instead of one balloon, the whole bunch broke loose. In an instant, the wind whisked them away, and with them went George, holding tight with both hands. Up, up he sailed, higher and higher. The houses looked like little toy houses, and the people looked like dolls. George was frightened. He held on very, very tight. At first, the wind blew in great gusts. Then it quieted. Finally, it stopped blowing together. George was very tired. Down, down he went, bump, on to the top of the traffic light. Everyone was surprised. The traffic got all mixed up. George didn't know what to do, and then he heard someone call, "George!" He looked down and saw his friend, the man with the big yellow hat. George was very happy. The man was happy too. George slid down the post, and the man with the big yellow hat put him under his arm. Then he paid the balloon man for all the balloons. And then George and the man climbed into the car, and at last away they went to the zoo. What a nice place for George to live. The end. I hope you enjoyed Curious George. He was one of my favorites, and there's plenty more over at the library when the library opens up again. We miss you much, and we hope to see you very, very soon. Check out our website on the Kids and Family page. We have all sorts of programmed videos of stories and songs and crafts and all kinds of fun stuff. So check us out at www.northriversidelibrary.org and go to the Kids and Family page. There's all kinds of links in there. There's videos of most of the staff, if not all of them, in the YS, the Youth Services Department, and you get to see your friendly workers over at the library. Hope to see you soon. Talk to you later. By the way, little Lester's here to visit us. See you later.